For those that don't know, I am something of an animation guy, and I have a decent knowledge of history of animation. So I tend to watch other animation channels on YouTube because I like that. I like learning about animation. I like watching the process. I like hearing things that I didn't know about the field and educating myself further about it. Or just seeing the opinion of others in regards to classics or new animated movies. Well, there's been this odd thing that's been coming up the last couple weeks or so from several channels all at once. The repeated idea that Disney villains, particularly those in the Renaissance era, are gay, or queer-coded, as the term usually is. Now, this is a thing that's been around for a while. I'd say at least 15 years or so. But it's been a while since I've heard this brought up, and to have seen it several different times in the past couple weeks makes me think that there's yet another push to try and get this idea accepted as the norm. It's one of those things, you repeat a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. I believe that that's what's going on here. Either that they are perpetuating the lie, or they themselves believe the lie. And I'm willing to, for most of the time, concede the latter rather than the former, because it's one of those things that they've probably heard so often that they just believe it as real. Well, I'm going to explain how that is completely wrong, and there's one section that I'm actually going to be explaining a little bit of history on to explain why it's wrong. Now, when this is discussed, it is always about the Renaissance era characters. There's particularly 5 movies, all that came out straight. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Those are the movies that are always referenced when they're talking about the villains portrayed as gay. And there's a couple of them that are very quick, very easy to explain away, and then there's a couple of them that involve a more historical context. Beauty and the Beast. Gaston and LeFou are usually brought up, though Gaston not very often. It's typically LeFou, so let's focus on LeFou. Now, if the director of Beauty and the Beast came out and said LeFou was gay, I would not even be shocked at that. That would not surprise me at all in the least. Now, let's go with the idea that LeFou is gay. He is the lackey of Gaston. He basically is Gaston's punching bag. To me, this seems like a Harley Quinn-esque relationship. A person trapped in a toxic relationship, expressing unrequited love to a person that will never reciprocate and is doing whatever he can just to be with that person in any capacity. That's how it always came off to me. This is not a disparaging portrayal if LeFou is gay. It seems more like a sympathetic portrayal if we are going with that interpretation. So I don't find that to be the offensive gay portrayal that people make it out to be. And for the record, that is the only one, in my opinion, that could be gay. Spoiler alert for the rest of the video. Aladdin, Jafar. I don't think I need to really explain this one, considering the dude's thirst for Jasmine. I will bring attention to the scene after Jafar had taken over the palace. We are shown Jasmine in effectively what could be considered a Arabian version of the slave Leia outfit. Yeah, that wasn't for the audience. That was for Jafar. Jafar had been going after Jasmine the entire fucking movie. Dude ain't gay. I don't know why this is even a thing. Hunchback of Notre Dame. Frollo. I repeat the points that I brought up with Jafar. Dude is thirsting over the gypsy. I don't know why. Again, this is even brought up. His entire main villain song is how he wants to bone Esmeralda, and it confuses the fuck out of him. Not because he's gay, but because he is a pious religious man, and that's a sin to do that out of wedlock, or to have desires for a person you are not married to. The entire plot of the movie, from when he sees Esmeralda on, effectively boils down to, I want that. So how is he gay? Again, same with Jafar. I really don't understand that. You have to ignore effectively the entirety of the character to think that. And then you have The Lion King with Scar and Pocahontas with Governor Radcliffe. Now, these two, and to a lesser extent, Jafar and Frollo, require the historical context. There is a rather old theatrical trope or term from England about it started about the mid to late 1600s, but became particularly popular in the 1700s. It's called FOP. F-O-P. And what it is, and you've probably seen this, the socialite in the large, really tall, white, poofy, curly wig, face completely covered, white makeup, the really fancy attire, that kind of shit. That's what a fop is. That is a comedic trope that was created to make fun of the aristocracy in England. And it's a theater trope that has stuck around since. Now, the Renaissance era of Disney was modeled largely after Broadway musicals. Broadway musicals are a form of theater. Fop is a theater character type. They are not gay. They are built with the idea of the fop for comedic effect, for the over-exaggeration, for just how much of a presence they can bring. Because that's one of the great things about the fop character that people have noticed throughout history, is that they effectively, in an attempt to parody the aristocracy, they actually created characters that were larger than life themselves. And that is what these characters are. Scar and Radcliffe are absolutely based on the fop trope of character. Now, as time has gone on, there are similarities between the fop and gay men, particularly metrosexual-style gay men. That is a thing that has evolved from gay people. It was not a thing that was originally designed to make fun of gay people. Again, This is a trope that was designed to make fun of the aristocracy, the rich, the upper crusts of society. It's very weird that people see a well-dressed and eloquent character and automatically assume gay. Because again, you would have to ignore all historical context and just focus on modern society for that to even work. I have seen some people argue just to show how extreme this idea of queer coding is. I've seen people argue that they intentionally made the Disney villains gay to make people hate them more, and it backfired because largely people's favorite part of those movies is the villains, so that just made for more gay acceptance. If that's your point, then good. You're creating an enemy that doesn't exist. None of these characters are gay. None of these characters were meant to be gay. With the exception of LeFou, and as I stated, I find him to be more, if he is gay, I find him to be more sympathetic than evil, if that is the direction that they were going with him. 15 years ago, if any of Disney's main characters had been gay in any of their animated movies, I wouldn't have batted an eye. It's gotten to the point where people have complained so long and so vigorously about, well, the villains being queer-coded, and we demand gay characters, that now if Disney were to have one of their main characters be gay, I would think that it would be because of tokenism rather than an actual story or purpose to the character being gay. Hell, and the idea, oh, well, if a character doesn't have a love interest, then they must be straight. Modern movies like Wreck-It Ralph, Moana, there is no love interest at all. So if you are saying that that character must be straight by default, that's more on you. No orientation is brought up at all. They just are characters. The only time this is ever really brought up is romantic interests, the typical Disney princess shtick. On that same token, though, I think it's going to be a very, very long time before we actually do get a main animated movie, main character that's gay. And it's not because of American society at large or, Disney being homophobic or whatever. It's because of China. Every time in the past 3-4 years that Disney has put in a small reference to a gay character, it's been set up very much so that they can easily be removed or changed for China. Pixar's movie Onwards, the one scene with the police officer who references her girlfriend, that can be very quickly edited out for China. In Star Wars, the two background characters that are kissing, very quickly edited out. In Endgame, when one of the Russo brothers' character is talking about his boyfriend, that's very easy to edit out or change for China. They've been putting in these characters and in such small ways that they can very quickly fix it for China, who, well, the CCP specifically, absolutely hates gay people. That's why they do it. So that they can get their movie in China, and they can't get their movie in China with a gay character proper. So if Disney would stop sucking China's cock, we might get one. But I doubt that we're going to see that anytime soon. Hell, to show how much the CCP absolutely hates just any kind of diversity, Boyega, whenever he was on the posters for the Star Wars movies, if for the Chinese version of the poster, they hid him like nobody's business. This is going back to the main point, though. This is not a thing that has ever happened with Disney. They have, in their Renaissance era at the very least, never had a gay character. Their villains were never meant to be gay. If you are interpreting them as gay, that's because you so desperately want there to be something. And I don't get that. I really don't. Like, what does who a character wants to bang have to do with who that character is? Again, I say this, I would have fully welcomed a main gay character in a Disney anime movie. Now I'm thinking that it's more pressure than actual artistic design, but I'd still be willing to try and give benefit of the doubt that it's for artistic design reasons that a gay character would be in a Disney movie, and I wouldn't bat an eye at it. Gay characters in Disney movies will happen when they happen. They are absolutely going to happen. If your big thing is, well, it hasn't happened yet, once again, blame China. But to wrap it all up, no. The villains of the Renaissance era absolutely were not gay. It was a very old and still used to this day theatrical trope to go along with their Broadway musical sense that the movies were trying to present. And it helped create these larger-than-life villains that are still adored to this day. That was not Disney being bigoted towards gay people. That was Disney putting on a fucking show. And if you took that as gay, that says something more about you than it does about them. Okay? This has been Math Machine saying, let the villains be villains. They already have it bad enough. I hate myself. Peace out.